Hey guys, how is everybody doing? The month that was May of 2024 is now behind us already, and we're 3 weeks into June already. I need to start doing these videos on time. Time flies. I think I'm getting really old. You're just now finding me, or you're just now watching one of these videos for the first time. This is a monthly ranking that I do every month at the end of the month. Or beginning of the new month, I guess. I usually go down the list of all the new movie releases that I watched during that month, and I rank them all from worst to best. So I'm going to be talking about the 7 movies that I watched during the month of May and rank them all worst to best. I did them for the other few months. I did not do them for January because I only watched 2 movies that month. But I have a full playlist. I'll probably leave the playlist at the end of the video, or we'll probably see what I end up doing. I did it last month for April, I did it for March, and I did it for February. And so now you're going to be getting my video of all the May movies that I watched. And like I said, I watched 7. I believe this is one less than from last month, but I'm not too sure. But 7 movies. And I got to be honest, May wasn't a very good month. If anything, my top 2 are probably the only great movies on here. And if anything, number 3 I would consider good. But everything below it, I would consider it mediocre to bad. So this list might be a little wonky. This might be the most negative I've ever been for one of these videos, but with that all out of the way, here's my ranking of all 7 May movies that I watched, ranked from worst to best. But wasting no more time with starting off with my number 7, the worst of May and the worst of this month. Taro, Tario, Karat, however the fuck you say it. Taro is a movie. So, I knew nothing about this movie. I did not see a single trailer. I did not watch any advertisements. I saw zero advertisements for it. But I was looking at my local theater and I saw this little movie called Taro. And I didn't know what it was. I heard no rumor. I did not hear a single thing about it. No buzz. I did not see one review from this movie. I knew jack shit about the movie. All I knew is that it was a PG-13 horror movie that was directed by the 2 guys that helped produce Expendables. What could go wrong? But maybe this could have been one of those moments to where you walk into the theater watching a horror movie that no one is talking about, no one has heard about, no advertisements for, and maybe this will be one of those hidden horror movies that no one has ever seen or heard of. Maybe it was going to be one of those movies. Didn't happen. But I will be completely honest. I did hear some bad things about it. Like I said, I didn't hear much about the movie. I didn't really see any reviews, but I did see a few of them, and I heard that this was one of the worst movies of the year. I did see one reviewer on YouTube that I follow said that it was worse than Madam Web, but I was like, hey, it can't be worse than Madam Web, right? Well, at least Madam Web is kind of looks watchable now. I don't know if that's a compliment though. But yeah, Taro is basically a movie to where you get all these dumb college kids, basically mediocre, forgettable characters that we've always seen in PG-13 horror movies, that none of them are really likable, none of them are really memorable. The only one that's sort of memorable that is played by Ned's actor from the recent Spider-Man trilogy in the MCU. He plays a character in this movie. He's the only somewhat likable character, but not really. And you get all these characters, and then they accidentally curse themselves with these tarot cards. And those of us who have seen tarot cards, or Tario, I don't know how you say it, tarot cards, we all really know what they are. They basically read your future or whatever. And so they give you this card, they basically tell your future, and there's this little demon looking guy on there. And then you get pronounced with this curse, and then this little demon guy comes after you. That's what this movie is. And let me tell you, this is the most generic horror movie I have ever seen, because this is a movie that I've seen before. Jump scares, terrible. Characters, like I said, not memorable anyway. And I honestly kind of struggled to find any positives while watching this movie, because the entire time I was sitting there watching the movie, I'm like, I get no enjoyable moments out of this movie. The only sliver of a moment that I actually kind of enjoyed is when all the characters are kind of like hidden in a car, and they're like not hidden in a car, but trying to drive away. I'm pretty sure they're basically in this car, and there's like detection signals on the car to where any that if someone is by the car, it gives you like a little signal they're right there. But they're in this car. It's pitch black outside. They can't see anything, and there's like one of the demons outside, kind of like messing with them, going around, and all the sensors are going off around the car, but you can't see it. I thought that was a pretty cool moment, a very well shot moment, I guess. But yeah, that's the one moment in this entire movie that I thought was very creative, and that's like the one thing that I was like, I haven't seen this before, or maybe I have, but probably not. But like, this is Taro is one of those movies to where this is like a movie that you would bring your girlfriend to, where you're a teenager in high school, middle school, whatever. You have a girlfriend and you go to the theater, but she doesn't watch the movie much because she's on her phone, snapping the whole time, talking to her friends, and then when a big loud boom comes up, she'll look up and act like she's surprised or scared, and then the next day at school, when she's telling everybody how great the movie was, or how scary it was, when us guys, we know that this movie wasn't scary because the jump scares are generic and horrible, and she probably gets scared easily because she's only watched like 3 horror movies in her lifetime, mostly The Conjuring. But like, and then she's gonna tell everybody, all of her friends, that this movie was so great that all of her friends need to watch it, and that's why this movie made $42 million and somehow outdid Abigail. If that's the movie for you, then you're gonna love this movie. Have fun. Coming in at number six, God, my voice. Coming in at number six is yet again another horror movie this year, and this year's not been very good for horror, unfortunately. And that is The Strangers Chapter 1. Now, to be honest, I did not really have a lot of expectations going into the movie. I love the first Strangers movies, that Stranger movie, that is one of my favorite modern horror movies. That's, I think, is one of the scariest modern horror movies ever. I really love that movie. That is one of my favorites of all time. But I will always defend the stupid characters and all that, but when I heard that there was this new trilogy announced for this Strangers franchise, I heard that there was this whole new trilogy planned out, that they were going to make 3 movies and possibly release them at, at different months of the same year. But we got the first one in May. I didn't really have a lot of expectations for it. I watched the trailer, but as I watched the trailer, I was like, this just looks like the original movie all over again. Like, when you're watching the movie, you're like, I felt I've seen this movie already, and I fucking have. So, I did not hear the best things going in, so I kind of tempered my expectations, thinking that it's not going to be great. It's not going to be a very good start to this new trilogy. So I went in, and as expected, it wasn't great. It was not a very good movie. It was not a very good start to this new trilogy. And they keep saying, not a remake. It's not a remake of the original movie. It's a creative reboot. And that is just a creative reboot with just these new versions of these characters. I call bullshit because when you're watching the movie, there are so many moments where it's basically taken out of the original movie. Remember the part where the friend accidentally shoots his friend? Yeah, that happens here, but not with a friend. But this time they shoot the owner, because now it's different, because they didn't shoot his friend. They just shot the owner, so it's new and it's different. That means it's not a remake of the first movie. And as I was talking about jump scares with Taro, it kills me to say this, so I hated the jump scares in this movie. And I praise the jump scares in the first movie, the first Strangers movie, because they're actually legit creepy and like nerve-wracking. But in this movie, they're so fucking predictable. There's one part to where the girl, the redheaded chick, she's like looking for like the power box in like a room of clothes. She accidentally drops her phone, and I was just like, oh, she dropped her phone and her light is on. I wonder what will happen. She picks up her phone, and one of the strangers is right there, and I was just like, oh, look, I'm so scared I forgot to jump. It's so scary. And something that this franchise has always been known for is the fucking characters. They are actually so stupid in this movie, and it pained me, pained me that they were so stupid. Because where they go when their car supposedly breaks down or has something wrong with it, they go into this small town that basically is run by a cult, what it looks like, because all these characters are sketchy. Why only stare at people from out of town? I have no idea. Oh, I know why. Cult leaders. There's a bunch of cult people looking at these people, and there's just like, oh yeah, your car is fucking destroyed, and I don't have the parts for it, so you're gonna have to stay at my cabin while I fix your car. What? When your car has no problems while you're driving there, but all of a sudden when you're sitting in this car and you're trying to start it when you were sitting in a diner for like 40 minutes, and then you just see all these weird ass people looking at you, you're not gonna be suspicious that they're trying to fucking try to kill you? That these people didn't fuck with your car while you're in that diner? And I actually rooted for the husband or the boyfriend of this movie when he's just like, "You guys are messing with us. Like, my car was fine before I got here, but when we get here, it's all messed up, and you're trying to kill us. I don't find all this." Like, that character was smart. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, fight your piece. But then, like, all of a sudden, the girlfriend's just like, oh, let's give them a chance. Let's give them a chance. He's like, okay, fine. It's like, dude, I don't know. Characters have always been dumb in The Strangers. And then, the look of The Strangers, I will admit, they're still great. I do believe the look of these strangers in this movie for a creative reboot are still good looking. I do think that just like average clothes that you would probably just wear on like a cold day, like just to go on a walk or something, their outfits were pretty cool still. And yeah, The Strangers Chapter 1, it was a rough start to this new trilogy. And one note I will leave on with this movie is the next two chapters better be better. Coming in at number five is going to be the Garfield movie. Now, when this movie was coming out, there seems to be a lot of hate for the movie, and there still seems to be a lot of hate for the Garfield movie. And I didn't really understand that because when I watched the trailer for the movie, I was like, "Oh, this movie looks cute. It looks like a fun time." But then everybody else is like, "This movie doesn't look good. Doesn't look like a good Garfield movie." It's just like, What the fuck do you want from Garfield? He is a orange cat that loves lasagna. What else do you want?" They don't show a lot of lasagna in the movie. But the Garfield movie was a fun time. That is really all. If you want to bring your child or maybe the whole family to go watch the Garfield movie, I would recommend doing so because it is a cute movie. It's a fun movie. I had a damn good time with my family and my little sister going to the movie. It was a cute movie. I really enjoyed it. I love this little journey that Garfield goes on with his father, voiced by Samuel Jackson, which the guy has to be in every movie at this point, right? But yeah, the Garfield movie is a cute movie. Like, I thought it was just a fun little movie. I didn't expect a lot from the movie. I didn't expect it to be A plus tier animated movie, but it's a fun movie. It's a fun family movie that sure it's not gonna be for everybody. It definitely won't be for the whole family, but it's a fun movie to take your family to. It might not be for everybody. It might just be for the parents just to get their children to shut up so they brought them to the movies. But yeah, I can't really talk about the movie because it's just a cute little animated movie for the kids. And if that's the target audience for this movie, I recommend it for the children. Coming in at number four is a movie that unfortunately really disappointed me because I really thought this movie would have been better. But unfortunately, this movie just was a big disappointment for me, and that is The Fall Guy. Now, when this movie was coming out, I had a lot of I did not have huge anticipation for it like a lot of people seem to do. But I watched the trailers, I was like, that movie looks like a fun action movie with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. That movie looks fun, looks like a good time at the theater with friends. I was pretty excited because I it's a Ryan Gosling action movie that pays homage to the stunt performers and it just looks like a fun little action movie. But when you go and watch the movie, I will tell you this if you were one of the very few people that didn't decide to watch it at the theater. Um, the trailers don't really show you what the movie actually is. If anything, the trailers just show you Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, basically trying to keep each other's love life a secret. But then it just like this guy goes missing, and Ryan Gosling is told to go find him. That's all they tell you in the trailer, and then they just show you a bunch of action sequences. That's not really the movie. That's really not what this movie is, because when you watch the movie, and then there's like this whole different mystery going on besides trying to find um, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. um there's like this whole different mystery that's just brought in out of nowhere. It's just like, well, what? Why bring that in? What the hell? I won't spoil it for you if you didn't see it because box office was not the best. And when you see that different mystery that they decide to bring into the movie, it's like, where did this come from? A perfect example of this is Argyle, that's which came out back in February. That the trailers looked very different. It looked like a fun time, but then they introduced this whole different thing and this whole different twist that wasn't needed. That kind of ruined the movie. And that was this movie because they revealed a whole different twist and a whole different mystery. Because there's a twist in this movie. It's just like that didn't need to be there. Like, and this gives us like an answer to something that happened to Ryan Gosling's character. Like, I believe that happened like a few years before this. I can't remember how many years this movie jumps. I think it was like 3 to 5, something between there. I'm pretty sure I could be mistaken. But yeah, because when you see that, it's just like, well, that's interesting. We didn't need an explanation of why this happened to him at the beginning of the movie. But yeah, go for it, man. I will admit, action is great. It's great. Guy Ritchie as a director. Did I say Guy? Is it Guy Ritchie? David Leitch. Why did I say the other guy's name? Why did I say that? It was David Leitch. He's a great action director. I really like him as an action director, and the action, of course, pays off here. It's great in this movie, and it's amazing. And Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt's chemistry is great. They're both great actors and actresses, and their chemistry is great in this movie. I thought it was really entertaining, and mostly what this movie, why it carried itself was the action. And this movie also has like a lot of stuff going on. There's paying tribute to stunt performers, which it does a good job at, so kudos to that. Being a romantic comedy ish, and a mystery movie, and an action movie. So, four things going on in the movie, but you can only pick two. Pick two. And at number three is one of the biggest surprises of the year, and that is If, which is Imaginary Friends. So, I'll be honest, I didn't even think I was gonna watch this movie, but I gave it a chance. So, It was a movie I really didn't really want to see. Like, none of the trailers really sold me. John Krasinski's name alone really just had me interested. If he wasn't directing this movie, I probably would have never watched it, if I'm being honest. But, excuse me. But if John Krasinski was never directing this movie, I probably would have never watched it. But that, at the same time, I kind of question that. It's like, well, I liked what he did with A Quiet Place. I really wish he would have stayed to direct Quiet Place Day 1 or possibly Quiet Place Part 3 or something like that. But instead, he decides to do a family-friendly movie this time with If, which is the story where you get Ryan Reynolds and this little girl who lost her mother when she was younger, and her father, who was played by John Krasinski, is in the hospital and could be facing life-threatening surgery for his heart. And so those two kind of Ryan Reynolds and the little girl pair together, and they try to make the imaginary friends kind of go back to their older kids, basically. They're kids that were the imaginary friends that were to the kids, and so that's basically the entire movie. But when I watched the trailers, I had no interest in the movie. I did not have any excitement for the movie. I didn't really think it was going to be any good. So I walked in just thinking it's going to be an okay movie. But when I watched it, I was pleasantly surprised how much I actually kind of loved the movie. How much I thought the movie was great, and how much of a impact it had on me, because this movie does have a lot for the children. It has a lot for the kids that are there to watch the goofy fun of the movie, but there's also enough for the adults to where it's really emotional, because it like tells you the story of growing up into adulthood, to where who's someone who is still basically young, and who's still kind of growing up into an adulthood, because the movie has a great message of kids, to where we all have, when we were kids, we were like, I wanted to be an adult. I wonder what adult life is going to be. But when you get there, it's not great. It's really not, because you want to stay young. You want to be young again. And this movie has that great message of that, and how growing up, like, as a kid, like, you had your imaginary friends, like, you created this little imaginary friend that was just in your head, basically, and growing up, like, you slowly just lose them to where you don't need them anymore, basically. You basically just departure from them, and this movie kind of has, like, a weird message that I kind of captured onto it is like, growing up, you kind of need your imaginary friends that because you still might need them still need them at your side, maybe. And it had a really emotional parts of the movie with John Krasinski's character and the little girl, and kind of growing up into adulthood. And the ending really surprised me with Ryan Reynolds' character. I didn't expect that, and I honestly didn't have an issue with it. But yeah, If was a fun time. It was a great movie for the family, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. The designs of all the imaginary friends were pretty creative. I thought Steve Carell's what was his name, Blue or something like that. I thought he was great in this movie. So yeah, If was a fun movie, and I really enjoyed the movie. And now because of A Quiet Place and now If, whatever movie John Krasinski decides to make next, I have full confidence it's going to be a good movie now because this movie really surprised me, and it was a damn good movie. I felt. Coming in at number two is going to be Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Now, I had not seen Mad Max Fury Road until before this movie came out, actually, but I always heard great things about it. I finally watched it a few days before I went and watched it, and I love Fury Road. That is one of my favorite movies of all time now, and I had a lot of expectations going into this movie, and they fucking delivered because Furiosa is awesome. Now, to be fair, would I preferred if we got Mad Max Wasteland? Oh god, yes, I would have preferred that, but an idea of giving Furiosa, probably the star of the show of Fury Road, her own solo prequel film to show her origins and how she got with the immortal Joe and how she lost her family, how she departed from it, or lost like what was the name of her land? It was like Green something, I'm pretty sure. Like how she departed from that, and how she ended up working for Immortal Joe. That's interesting, but did we need it? Didn't feel like we needed it, but now I'm glad I that we got it because this movie was awesome. The action absolutely delivered, especially coming off of Fury Road. If you're gonna have Fury Road, which has some of the best action I've ever seen in my life, and you're about to make another one years later, you better capitalize on it, and they did. They did. And Anya Taylor-Joy, I thought she was great in the role of Furiosa. I felt that she delivered a great performance as the character. I was really surprised by that, and because Charlize Theron, I do prefer her over this, but I thought she was great in the movie. And Chris Hemsworth, he's the real star of the show, and he really stole the show because he was great in this movie. He really, I thought he gives off one of his best performances outside the MCU in Thor as a great villain. I forget it. What was his villain's name? God, it's gonna bother me. It's Demetis, I'm pretty sure. Something like that. Demetis or Demades or Demades. Demetis, I believe his name was, something along those lines. I thought he was great in this movie. And it's if anything is a nitpick, some of the other characters outside Furioso and Demetis was some of the side characters. Like there's like this whole love interest thing that they tried to do with Furiosa in this movie, but they didn't really do anything with it. It's just some random guy, but apparently the internet loves that guy for some fucking reason. I don't know why, but he's there. He's there. But yeah, the action, the Furiosa, the two main leads of this movie were awesome, and the CGI and the visual effects were great. I thought they were amazing in this movie, and I thought they expanded the world greatly of showing some of the origins of Furiosa. And it's a shame that this movie bombed at the box office. Really is. Because now we have to fucking wait for Mad Max Wasteland. Don't you fucking lie to me, Tom Hardy. You know it's gonna happen. You know it's gonna happen. But of course, coming in at my number one is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I absolutely adore the past trilogy of the Caesar trilogy. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably in my top 10. I love it so much. And War for the Planet of the Apes was such a great send off to that trilogy, which I don't see any better ending than that movie. Excuse me. I'm a burpy boy apparently now, excuse me. And when you see the end of that great trilogy and then Disney, which bought 20th Century Fox, and they come out and say that they have a brand new movie coming out and a brand new trilogy planned out, it's just like, well, how are you going to top that? How are you going to top that past trilogy? Because Caesar, one of the best movie characters in the past decade, I feel. He is a fucking amazing character, and like just how perfect that trilogy is and how perfect those movies are, just how are you going to capitalize on that? How are you going to outdo those movies? Thankfully they don't try to, because they do a damn good job of introducing you into this new trilogy and with these new characters. And I gotta tell you, I was nervous for this movie because I was really hoping it would honor the legacy of that trilogy and honor Caesar's legacy, and they absolutely did, because I had a gigantic smile on my face as I left watching the movie, because this movie was amazing. And the characters I do enjoy, I am enjoying so far with the main character of Noah, but he is nowhere close to being Caesar. Like, how could you? And Proximus Caesar, it's a shame that he's not on screen for as long as I wanted him to, but he is a badass villain, and I do believe he's a pretty good um new villain. He's not Koba by any means. How are you gonna outdo Koba? But he still is a good villain, and it does take a while to get there. And that's really my main negative with the movie, is the pacing of this movie, because it's like the pacing to where, like, the first half of the movie, it really introduces you into this new world and introduces you to these new characters and these new rules, basically, which I'm good with. But then it takes forever to get going again, because then Noah is going to find off his mother and possibly to find Proximus Caesar. And he's out there, he comes across Raka, and they go on a journey a little bit. They find this human, and then it's picking up pace, so where tension's going, and then it slows down again until the finale. It's just the pacing is really weird. It's just like, well, we need to start doing stuff here. We need more, dude. Like, we need to keep going here. But I honestly loved it, and something that I really liked about the movie, and something that I didn't really talk about, is I do like how they kind of treat Caesar as like a different Christian. Like, like, there's different Christians out there. Like, there's some people out there that don't believe in God and Jesus, people that do believe in God and Jesus, people that believe in other things, basically. And I really liked that they kind of did that with Caesar, because there's like these people that we all know, like, we know what Caesar believed in, what we believe, what he thought he should believe in. Like, we as an audience, we know, but these people, not people, these new apes, they don't know. They really don't know, because this movie takes place 300 years after the end of War for the Planet of the Apes. And so, like, there's people that, like, when they say this is what he believed in, they're right, but then there's Proximus Caesar that's basically taking his words, but he's like mixing it around a little bit, kind of putting his own words into it. Like, I really like that. That is something that I really liked about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and continue Caesar's legacy. So yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, possibly my favorite movie of the year. I really love this movie. It is a fantastic movie. And if you loved the past trilogy, I think you're going to like this one. So Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is my number one movie of May of 2024. That is it, guys. That is my official ranking of all 7 movies that I watched during the month of May. Let me know what movies you watched in the month of May, and if you want to, leave me your ranking of all the movies you watched in the month of May. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you like this video, like it. If you loved it, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, I'll see you all next time.